Welcome back everybody to another one of my aviation history videos, and today we're going to be looking at episode 31 in my series on the history of the RCAF. So today we're going to be looking at the history of 428 Squadron, from its start in World War II as a bomber unit to its life as a short-lived post-war fighter unit. 428 has one of the shortest operational uses of any of the RCAF squadrons. And as always, before we get into this, my name is Sean, and this is Sean's Aviation. And just before we jump into the body of this video, I'd like to thank everybody who is out there watching these. If you haven't yet and you do enjoy what you watch, please down below hit that like, subscribe, and that notification bell. That'll help the algorithms push these videos to more people who could and should be interested in these, as well as let you all know when I release new videos. Now, that being said, let's jump right into this and see the history of 428. 428 Squadron was formed on November 7th of 1942 at RAF Dalton as the RCAF's 26th Squadron formed overseas and its 9th bomber unit. It was assigned the squadron code NA and was part of 4 Group and was assigned its first aircraft, Wellington Mark IIIs, with the first aircraft arriving that month. On January 1st of 1943, the unit was transferred to 6 Group, the RCAF Bomber Group, but very little changed at the unit level. After some time training on the type and getting comfortable with night operations, the unit flew its first operational mission on the night of January 26-27th when 6 aircraft were dispatched to bomb U-boat pens in Lorient. 5 successfully bombed the target, while 1 aborted. In April of 1943, the unit began to transition to the Wellington Mark X, which had more powerful engines than the Mark III, and all of the Mark IIIs were gone by the end of that month. They did not fly these long, as by June of 1943, the unit began to convert to the Halifax Mark V. These were the Merlin engine variants of the Halifax, and only a relatively small number were built. The change in aircraft type also brought around a change in scenery, with the unit relocating to Middleton St. George on June 3rd. They were located at this base till the end of the war. July 9th was the unit's first operational mission with the Halifax, when 11 aircraft were dispatched for a raid on I'm gonna murder this word. When 11 aircraft were dispatched for a raid on Gelsenkirchen. 1 aircraft failed to return from that mission. In November of 1943, the unit began to receive a number of Halifax Mark IIs. While the details are hazy, it seems like these Mark IIs were very similar to the Mark V they already had, only with some minor differences in armament and equipment. In January of 1944, the unit began to relinquish their Halifax Mark Vs, flying only the Mark II. In June, the unit began to convert to the Canadian-built Lancaster Mark X, with the first missions on the Lancaster flown on the night of June 14th-15th, with a raid on St. Paul, France. By the end of the month, all the Halifaxes had been retired. The remainder of the war was a mix of bombing German targets as well as mining operations. The unit flew their last mission on April 25th of 1945 when it was tasked with hitting gun positions on islands in the North Sea. May 8th brought around the end of the war in Europe and a change for 428. It was selected as part of Tiger Force, the RAF and RCAF's bomber contribution to the war in the Pacific. The unit spent a couple of weeks practicing long-distance flying in preparations for a return to Canada, and the unit began to fly their bombers across the Atlantic late in May, with all aircraft in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, by June 2nd. 428 was the first of the RCAF bomber units to fly their aircraft back to Canada. The plan was for the unit to have some leave, then begin working up for the war in the Pacific, but with the abrupt end of the war in August meant that this was no longer needed, and the unit disbanded on September 5th of 1945 while still stationed at Yarmouth. During World War II, the unit flew 21,188 operational hours over 3,467 sorties. There are accounts stating the unit flew POWs, but I can't find any official confirmation on this. It dropped 9,378 tons of bombs and was credited with 3 enemy aircraft destroyed, 1 probable, and 3 damaged. The unit suffered 84 aircraft lost, with 63 aircrew killed, 377 missing presumed dead, 13 POWs, and 2 who evaded capture, with 8 injured. The post-war life of 428 started on June 21st of 1954 when the unit was stood up as an all-weather fighter unit at RCAF Station Uplands. It was to be part of the RCAF's contribution to NORAD and the defense of North America from possible Soviet bombers. It was assigned the unit code HG and received their first aircraft, CF-100 Mark IV-As, immediately after being formed, the 5th RCAF unit to be equipped with this aircraft type. In February of 1955, the unit began to receive the CF-100 Mark IV-Bs, which had more powerful engines, and all of the A models were retired by April. These Mark IV-Bs had the ability to carry rocket pods in the wingtips as well as a ventral pack with 8 50 caliber machine guns. In March of 1956, the unit began to receive their first CF-100 Mark Vs. Issues with the ventral weapon system on the Mark IV, as well as the belief that interceptors would be at longer ranges, meant that this version only had the wingtip rockets as armament, as well as some more powerful engines. By August, all of the Mark IVs were gone, and the unit flew only the Mark V. So in the late 1950s, the RCAF was preparing to reorganize with newer aircraft types, including the CF-105 Aero that was on the horizon. So as such, it was decided to reduce the number of frontline fighter units in preparation for the expansion of these new aircraft types. Now, when the CF-105 Avro Aero was cancelled and they decided to buy the CF-101 Voodoo to replace it, it was decided to only have 5 frontline fighter units. And they chose the 5 units that had previous World War II fighter history. So as such, 428 Squadron was not decided to be kept, and it was disbanded on June 1st of 1961. Now, since then, it has not been reactivated, and time will tell if we do see it again. We do have some more aircraft coming down the pipeline with the new F-35s coming online in the next couple of years, as well as new drones being purchased for the RCAF. So again, time will tell whether we do see 428 Squadron being reactivated as a unit, or if it will remain part of the RCAF's historical legacy. All that being said, thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time.